Hey guys, how's it going? Been working on a new project, or not a new project, but an extension of my current project, Velocity, the past week or so that I think it's ready to show, but it's definitely not a final product. So this is more of a beta test than anything, but I'll just get right to it. It's called Turbo, Turbo, and what it is it's a tool that scaffolds React Redux projects with or without Express if you want. So it's a tool that scaffolds React Redux projects with or without Express. It's a command line tool, so you install it globally using npm, and then it'll scaffold an entire project. But there's a little bit more to it than that. It's not just a scaffolding engine or a generator, as they call it. It's a little bit more. It also gives you sort of a built-in backend. So the way it's supposed to work is that if you have a React-only project with no server integration whatsoever, so a typical example would be like GitHub Pages or something you host on Amazon S3, any kind of static hosting provider. If you want to make a React project out of it, it's kind of hard to make anything of consequence without any data, any persistent data, like a database, right? So, but the database integration can be pretty onerous too. As you can see through my tutorials, it's not a trivial implementation. So I built Turbo to basically give you an automatic a database out of the box. So it'll make more sense when I show you how it works. So let's go through it real quick, so you can see why I worked on this for the past week or so. So the first thing you need to do is install Turbo, the Turbo CLI. So sudo npm install Turbo, and make sure you do it globally. Put in your password. Oh, I typed it wrong already. Okay, and you should see that now you have the Turbo CLI installed. So the next thing we want to do is create a project using it. So we want to Turbo. Actually, I forgot. You want to register a project on the website. So you know my website is Velocity 360, right? If you've been watching my station for a while, you know my website and all that stuff. So here's Velocity on a subdomain. Instead of Velocity 360, you want to do Turbo 360. Turbo.velocity360.io, and this will give you the Turbo home site. And a lot of these instructions are on the home page anyway, so if you don't remember what I'm about to show you, that's fine. It's all right here. If you have a profile on my website, you have a profile on Turbo already. It's all linked together. So Turbo is a subset of Velocity. It's a spin-off on Velocity. So the next thing you need to do is go to the Turbo homepage, which is right here, and then click on Create App right here on the upper right corner. So you click on that, and then you put in a name and a URL. The URL is optional, but the name, you have to have a name for that. You can change everything whenever. You can change things later on if you want. So go ahead and do that. I already have two projects, so I'm going to go with this one for now. So when you create a project, you get an app ID. So you want to copy that, and here you can set the image, the description, whatever you want to. So you get an app ID. Okay, so you got to grab the app ID, and then go back to the terminal, and then create the project. And then you pass in the app ID like that. So this is how you create the first project on Turbo. And you go ahead and create it, and then you cd into it, and then you run the npm install. So it's actually just like the Express generator. In fact, I took a lot of the conventions out of the Express generator in terms of certain parts of the scaffold and whatnot. So it's pretty similar. So this flow should be very comfortable for you if you've been following my tutorials. Now what it's doing right now is setting up a React Redux project with all the default configuration. So we have the stores, the actions, the reducers, the constants, it's all there. And it gives you one resource out of the box called user, just like the Express generator. So I kind of followed their pattern there. But it's set up so that the reducer and the store and the actions all integrate with user right away. So it gives you sort of a working example out of the box so that you can work off that or start building out your own resources. And it's very modular, so you can just remove the user, resource if you want, the reducer and the component. You just remove all that stuff. But it's good to have that there so you can see a working example before you start building out your own things. So now that the npm install is set, the next thing we need to do, just like any React project, is run Webpack. So you let that run, that's good to go. And then here is the first app folder. So before we get into the code, I just want to show you what's the folder, the directory structure. Here's the index.html as you would normally expect to see. Package.json, here's the source code. If I go to the index.html and open it in the browser, right off the bat you get a working example. And this is a React Redux site. This is a React Redux application. So if I open up the source code on the browser, you'll see what you expect to see. I did a few things a little bit different here than I normally do in my tutorials, mostly to lighten the download for different pages on the app. So I split up the app into the Commons using the Commons plugin and different app components. So I'll show you all that in the Webpack. So here, if I open up the source code now, actually before I get to the source code, let me show you one quick working example. So here it says add user. So this is the default resource that Turbo comes with out of the box. And again, you can remove it later and add your own stuff, but I thought it would be a good idea to have one just fully working example. So here I'm going to add a username, LeBron James, and then submit. And there he is. Now here's the main thing. If I reload the page, normally what would happen is we would lose this because there's no database integration, there's no server, there's no Express, there's no Mongoose, none of that exists. So, but if I reload it right now, it's still there. All right, if I go to my Turbo site where I have first app, now if I go to entities, I see the entity I just created right there. Right, that's the one I just made. That's backed up by like a sort of a universal backing database. So if I go back here and create another user, there he is, and I go back to the Turbo website and I reload and I do that, here it is, right? So the entities are persisted automatically with no server integration whatsoever. You may have noticed that one thing we did not do is set up Express. Express is not in this project at all. So if we open up the code base, you'll see that here is the full React Redux environment, with the store and everything. Here's the entry point right here. This is what we were just looking at. Let me just make it a little bigger. And I'll have a little note right here saying that this is a sample container, the user's one, for illustrative purposes. So if you, in all likelihood, you're going to want to remove it and replace it with your own stuff. However, most projects have a user resource anyway, so you might want to use it. So that's the thing about Turbo, is that it just right out of the box you get a full stack environment, front end, back end. Not really a server environment, so not really a back end, I guess. But you get a persistent layer, you get a database right out of the box, and it just works. There are 3 resources that come out of the box automatically, and they are as follows. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Three resources out of the box, which are user, that's the one we were just using, post, these are for blog posts, and comment, like regular comments, responses to blog posts or any kind of thread, comment thread, something like that. So these three come right out of the box. I'm going to add maybe one or two more down the road, but here's an important point. That doesn't mean you're limited to these three. So you can post to any endpoint you want, and the API will honor that endpoint. So if you do a post, let's say you post to a Turbo slash slash API slash project, right? Then Turbo will honor that and create a project for you. In fact, that's what I was doing here in Velocity. First off, these blog posts right here, these are all powered by Turbo. I've been using this for, I don't know, maybe about 2 weeks now. These regular comments are also powered by Turbo. So these are from the Turbo backend. And if you go to my profile, so here I am. This project right here is also a Turbo project. So now this one right here, this project resource is the only one that doesn't come out of the box, meaning that it's a custom resource for my site, Velocity 360. So what that means is, how does that even work? How do you create a custom resource? Well, it's very simple. You just post to an endpoint as if the resource already exists. And if it doesn't exist, Turbo will create it using whatever schema you put in there. And those will be the properties. And then if you keep on adding to the properties later on, which you're certainly going to do, Turbo will sort of run sort of an update for all the pre-existing entities and synchronize everything up. So yeah, that's the most convenient factor, is that you don't have to write all these schemas and make sure everything matches. You can just start posting to it. Now this is far from a finished product. In fact, I'm a little nervous just to get anyone on it, but I do need to test it because there's a lot of working pieces here. The server, my server and whatnot, and then the CLI is going to probably change along the way. I'm only on version 0.07. So I'm really looking for people to give it a shot and tell me over Slack or on the actual website what problems or features you want to see added to this to make it more robust, to make it more useful, to be honest. I would say right now, for me personally, the most useful thing is just the React Redux scaffolding, because I used to spend like an hour just setting up this part of the project, and I just said, this is killing me. I just wrote the CLI, the scaffolding part of it, to just get everything up and running right away, and I can just start building off that. One thing you may have noticed is that there's no server around here. I mean, I kind of pointed that out a few times. So what if you really want a server? We'll have that built in too. So here, if I go back to here, right, I'm going to get rid of this project. And I'm going to create another app using the CLI. So let me just grab my project ID. Okay, here's my project ID. So I'm going to create another app using the CLI. First app. Here is the ID flag, and then here, if you want to include an Express server, if you pass in the -e flag and Y for yes. Maybe I should have set that to true, whatever, but that's how you pass in this flag right here. This right here is what tells the CLI we want a full stack environment here. We want the front end and the back end. So when I create this project and I go into here and I run the npm install, it's going to take a little bit longer because I'm installing more packages for on behalf of the back end. Express, Hogan, templating engine. Your usual back-end stuff, the body parser. So it's a little bit more pieces, but it gives you a full working front-end and back-end with the React Redux environment and everything. So think of this as like the React Redux with the Express generator. In this case, I followed the Express generator convention about 85–90%. So it looks like a lot of the projects that I've been showing you on my tutorials, with a few minor exceptions. Pretty notable exceptions, but for the most part you'll be comfortable with the environment if you've been following my tutorials. So here, if we open it up, it's almost done installing the packages. Let me just write that down, by the way. Create app with Express. Okay. Okay, so right now it's running a post install, it's running the build, the Webpack and everything. It's building the entire project, so now it's done. So now if I open this up, you'll see that there is another folder called server, where you have everything you expect to see kind of in our normal projects, the controllers, the models, the routes, etc., etc., etc. So that's the back end, and then on the client side you'll see all the React stuff with the Redux integration. So basically everything we saw earlier, it's all right there too. So now if I go back to my terminal and run nodemon, I'm now running a server, and I can just go to localhost 3000 and I'll see the build page. Now notice here that Steph Curry and LeBron James automatically show up. That's because I use the same project ID. So it's referencing the same database. Your project ID is essentially your database ID. So whatever you have in the back end in your project, your app ID, it'll show up here as well. So that's how that works. So everything works out of the box. That's a very important part for me, is to make everything work out of the box. I don't want any confusion, nothing like that. Just everything just works. Just follow the steps. Just run the command, the create command, and then run the npm install, and then run Webpack, and then go, off you go. I added one more script here for you'll appreciate this later on, but I added one more script here called gulp. Well, it's not called, I mean, it's the gulp script. So I added a gulp package right here, which gives you the React components on the server side. So if you open up the server and go to dist and then ES5, you'll see all the React project in here as well. And the reason I did that is because soon, moving forward, as I build out this project more and more, I'm going to have Turbo support server-side rendering also out of the box, because server-side rendering is very difficult to get done right, to do it well. So that's another one of the reasons why I wanted to create a tool like this, was because whenever I do a new project, I probably create a new project like 2 or 3 times a month now, and it's never a quick thing. Usually the whole first day is devoted to setup, like 3 to 5 hours, just setting everything up, getting all the resources, getting the server-side rendering working right, getting all the React Redux, getting all the packages together, getting it all working stably is usually the first. That's day one. Just that's it. That's all I can do. So, but I found that a lot of the process is very repetitive. So whenever you notice it happening over a period of time, then you should start to think, all right, that means I got to start building some tools, some shortcuts, some libraries, or in my case, a command line tool, a CLI. So yeah, that's the idea behind this. So yeah, this is what I've been working on the past maybe 5 or 6 days or so, and I'm ready to start testing it with more people now. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. So give it a shot. All the instructions were on the beginning of this video, but if you don't remember all that, it's pretty simple. Just go to turbo.velocity360.io, and on the home page you'll just see a couple basic steps. And if you already have an account on Velocity, my regular website, then you already have a Turbo account. It's all the same. So you can go ahead and just start testing it. And if you're going to find bugs, this is not nearly production ready. I'm just getting things up and running. You're going to find some things not working right. So don't expect anything production grade yet. But that's also why I want to roll this out, because the more people I have using it, testing it out, then the more I'll find the bugs sooner, because there's only so much testing I myself can do. So yeah. So I'm going to cut this video short right here, but in the next video, I'm going to do a deeper dive into a Turbo project. So I'm going to create another project, spin up a Turbo project using the command line, and start posting some resources and fetching and whatnot. And yeah, that's it. Just to give you a quick rundown of how to actually create a project on Turbo. So yeah, please give it a shot. Let me know what you think. I'd love to use your feedback to make it better, and hopefully I can get this to be something that a lot of people will use. So again, I didn't put it on the main site. So if you go to my home page, you're not going to see it on here. You're not going to see any reference to Turbo on here because it's too raw. It's not really ready for that. So I don't want a bunch of new people coming here and clicking on it and seeing something that's sort of half-baked. It's not really ready for show yet. But if you've been following my station for a while, you kind of know that, you know, I'm just trying new things all the time, and this is one of them. So all you gotta do is instead of www, just do turbo.velocity.360.io, and that'll take you to it, and that should land you on the instructions page. Okay. So thanks again for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. Put them on in the website, the main website, or on the YouTube section, wherever, or Slack. I think Slack is probably the easiest way. And I'll open a new channel on Slack for just called Turbo. And yeah, hope you like it. And in the next video, I'll do a step-by-step demo tutorial using the Turbo CLI. So stay tuned for that.